What's going on, ladies and gentlemen and ladies? This is an incredibly important interview that I'm doing. This is an anticipated interview for many of you who follow me, who may not understand or know who Anthony Trimino is. I could just give you a brief synopsis. You could say to a certain degree I'm biased. I like him as a person. I think he's an incredible man outside of anything that we do in the interview. But I do want to introduce to some, get more acquainted, for others, who Anthony Trimino is. Obviously, he's in California running for governor of California. Hopefully, in the recall, there's some success. Beyond the recall, if Gavin Newsom doesn't get recalled, Anthony Trimino will be running as a candidate on a Republican ticket for the governor of California. Now, I'll say this real quick, and then I'm going to bring him in. There are certain things that I look for in a person who I would endorse or be, enthusiastic about when it comes to the gubernatorial race. And that's a person who has integrity, a person who is God-fearing, a person who has a track record of success as an entrepreneur or somebody who has managed people before. And all of those things in conjunction is the reason why I wanted to give Anthony Trimino an opportunity after I endorsed him in California. So without further ado, y'all put your seatbelts on and help me welcome Anthony Trimino. What's up, man?
What's happening? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Very good to see you. I love the background, man. It's so fresh and clean.
And that's not a fake background either, and you know that. That's legit. That's real. This is I'm at my office still, and happy to be speaking with you. I miss you.
Yeah, man. We gotta get some cigars going.
Yeah, we do.
Soon. But I wanted to start just ask you a few questions. There's some questions that a few people, that follow me wanted to know about, your run. And so I'll start with a couple questions that I have, and then we'll go to the questions that other people may have. And so when with all that's going on, obviously you don't have any, history in politics. Why did you decide that you wanted to run for governor of California?
Sure. Because somebody had to, somebody that I could get behind and believe in. So as you know, my grandfather fled communist Cuba in the 50s. He came to the United States to pursue the American dream. And he landed in California, and he became an entrepreneur. He did not want to depend on the system or the government. So he paved his own way, started a company that still exists today that my father runs, that I worked at, got fired from when I was 18. True story. My father wanted me to find my own way. And I built a life here. I was born and raised in California. I met my wife in California. We had our children in California. My business is here. Everything is here. But yet for the last 6 months, I've done nothing but think about leaving, because California is not a business-friendly state at all. It's actually the worst. I started to see overreaching government start to impede upon our medical rights and our medical freedoms. I started to talk to, my children are mostly out of school. I do have a 14-year-old daughter that's still in school, in high school. I started to talk to parents about what's being taught in our school systems, critical race theory, sexuality, things of that nature. And then, I'm Christian. And last year, our governor decided that he was going to shut down our churches. When he started to reopen the churches, he actually said that we could start to attend church, but we weren't able to sing in church. And when you add all that up, right? So you have a governor who basically shut down businesses. We have, radical ideology being taught in our school systems, overreaching with regards to our medical freedoms, you name it. It started to look like the country that my grandfather ran from. And initially I was thinking, you know what? It's time that we pack up and leave California, like a lot of entrepreneurs and businessmen do, and women and families are fleeing. And you know what? I remembered one day what I instill in my children, which is, if you can't find a solution, be the solution. And so it weighed heavily on me. We put a lot of thought process into it. Everything I do is calculated. We thought about it, we prayed about it, and we realized that we wanted to get behind a candidate and really help somebody change California. And we started to look at the landscape of the people that were running. We started to look at what they believed in. We started to look at their history. We started to look at their policy. We realized that there was really nobody that we could get behind comfortably and confidently that would toe the line on our, our beliefs, that would support small business the way we believe that small business should be supported. So one day we decided that since we couldn't find the solution, we would be the solution, and I decided to run.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, I think that sounds incredible. I'm just going to come right in and ask you a bunch of questions that I know people want to hear. Obviously, people.
Let's rapid fire, man. Let's go.
Yeah. People who do politics, they talk around. We're going to go straight to the punch. What is your thoughts on the Second Amendment? We all know that in California, they've already implemented policies that I think are unconstitutional. But what is your take on the Second Amendment? When you talk about high capacity magazines, what is your take on that? And what are you going to do about some of the things that have already been implemented in California as far as restrictions on the Second Amendment?
Well, I'm going to protect our Second Amendment. First of all, we have 5 God-given inalienable rights, right? Liberty, justice, pursuit of happiness. There are two inalienable rights that people don't talk about much, and that's the right to be free-thinking citizens and the right to defend oneself. And I fully believe in the right to defend oneself. As a matter of fact, I've purchased more guns over the last 12 months than I have my entire life. I fully believe that we should be allowed to be gun owners, that responsible people should be able to have guns. We need to protect that right. If not, we'll start to look less and less like America. So I'm a big advocate. I have friends and family in law enforcement. I believe we should be able to protect our family, and I will protect our Second Amendment rights. And any laws or bills that exist that actually infringe a right, I'll start to reverse.
All right. Awesome. Homelessness in California is probably one of the biggest issues that Californians, they really are concerned about. And it seems that if most people that have been in public office, most people that have been in leadership positions just don't have a solution to the problem, and they haven't done anything effective. So how are you, or what would you implement as governor that will be effective to deal with that challenge of homelessness? And if you can be as specific as possible, what are you going to do to kind of fix that situation to the best of your ability?
So politicians and government, they like to reinvent the wheel with your tax dollars. And so right now we are aware of organizations from San Diego to San Francisco that have mobilized, they have feet on the street, they have organized, they have support, mental health workers, social workers, people ready to clothe and feed our homeless population, but they get zero visibility from the government. They get zero financial backing. And just like any business, even though these are nonprofits, they need to understand how to scale. And it takes a business person, an entrepreneur, to help these organizations understand how to mobilize efficiently, effectively, and how to scale. So immediately on day one, I'll start working with organizations who are already on the front lines, working with our homeless population, activate the churches, look at our prisons as an opportunity to kind of reform our prison system and leverage those properties as a way of helping the mental health crisis that exists. But we will not reinvent the wheel. We will not take taxpayer dollars to try and reinvent solutions that already exist. So we'll support, fund, and back a lot of the organizations that I'm already working with.
Okay, awesome. The vaccine, California, and some people call it California. There's a couple of bills that are out that give overreaching power to these health officials to literally do as they please with what they perceive as an outbreak or something that's they consider to be an emergency, and they can shut companies down, or not companies but businesses down, and things of that nature. I got a question that I want to ask that from an audience person. I say an audience member like we're sitting in front of a town hall. I wish we were in person. We probably could do that, but
that would be super cool.
So there's SB 267, SB 277, and it deals with these vaccines. What would you do as governor as it relates to mandatory vaccines and vaccine passports?
Well, those two bills I would reverse on day one. So my position on vaccines is super simple. It's vaccine by choice, not by mandate. If you want a vaccine, I believe you should have access to it. But if you do not want a vaccine, if you believe that that is not the right decision for you, your family, and your children, you shouldn't be forced to. And while the government is not forcing you to actually get the shot, what they're doing is it's reverse compliance, forced compliance, right? By limiting the services that you can have access to, limiting access to, your job, potentially even flights in the future. They're reverse forcing compliance. I'm completely against that. Because of my work, I'm connected to a lot of healthcare companies, hospitals, medical groups, insurance plans. I talk to physicians regularly that are on the front line. I'm talking ICU workers. I'm talking physicians that are treating COVID patients. And the truth of the matter is this: it's currently, the vaccines that exist are currently experimental. They're experimental drugs are not even FDA approved. And so the idea that we would force that on our population is completely absurd, especially our children. So I would protect our children, and I would protect your right to choose to get the vaccine or not to get the vaccine. That's simple. That's the one question I get asked the most.
Right. It seems like a reasonable person will come to that conclusion. I want to follow back with the homelessness problem. Me and my wife was talking about this earlier, and it's an incredible challenge. Some of the things that you mentioned about the homeless issue and emboldening people who are already out there doing the work to, be more effective versus having a government implement these failed policies and experiment on taxpayer dollars. There is another issue with homelessness that I think that I would love to hear your response to, or how you feel about it. There are people who are outside of the realm of recovery, meaning that some people don't want to not live homeless. They want to be nomads. They want to be able to pee in the streets and do whatever they want to do and have this lifestyle of walking around begging and doing whatever they want to do. What are you going to do, or what do you foresee your efforts in dealing with people who are just refusing help? They're not necessarily mentally ill, or they want to just use drugs and sit around. What are you going to do about those individuals?
We need to enforce our laws. We need to empower our police to actually police, and we're not doing that. Governor's not doing that. Our mayors are not doing that. So we need to get behind our law enforcement and equip them with the power and the authority to actually police. And if people are breaking the laws, we need to be strict. We need to be swift, and eventually people will understand that won't be tolerated. Our streets have to be safe, and that is not ensuring the safety of our streets. And unless we have safe streets and neighborhoods, we're not going to have a sustainable society. It's that simple.
Okay. And another question, I want to be quick, rapid fire, because I want to get as much as I can. And thank you, Riley Grant, for asking that question about the homelessness problem, something that me and my wife had talked about before. But the taxes, it's out of control. One of the main reasons why I don't even like to be in California, why I don't want to live in California. My wife, her whole family lives in California, and she was in California before we got married, and we had to make a decision. Do we want to stay in California and have a life as entrepreneurs, or do we want to go to Arizona? And so we obviously picked Arizona. So what will you do?
I'm working on getting you guys back, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Look, if the taxes are good and business is good, we would love to live out there and be able to go to the beach in that beautiful weather. However, if you become governor, what will you do about these crazy taxes? I know people may think that there's an option of eliminating state tax. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, so taxes were the primary reason why I was going to leave. When I say California's not business friendly, I've created a certain amount of success as an entrepreneur. And California and its taxes were basically choking us out. And I was going to leave, again, primarily for that reason. It's not a business-friendly state. I believe people should keep more of what they earn. And one of the things I'm going to work toward is 100%, definitely lowering taxes. But my goal is to eliminate, income tax. And I think we can do it. I think we need to look at our state contracts and renegotiate them, save some money there. I think we need to look at projects that are currently being funded that make absolutely no sense to the general public and should be killed. I think we need to look at our spending. And as an entrepreneur, that's what I do. I'm effective at looking at expenditures, finding cost saving measures, ways to save money, to better negotiate our contracts and negotiate with vendors. But I do believe that we can, through kind of a massive audit, we can find the money to get us to a place where we can comfortably lower those taxes. But then I think that we can innovate and we can create ways for California to actually generate money that will make up the rest of it. I'll give you one example. I'm in advertising. $187 billion per year is spent in California alone in advertising. So you have big companies, right? The Walmarts, the Targets, the Nikes, the Adidas. They advertise in California, $187 billion. So we need to tax that. Why? Because they understand, everybody that's marketing, every big Fortune 500 company, they want California eyes, California ears, and California dollars, right? And so we're a commodity, and so we're going to tax that. So with a simple even if we did a simple 10% tax on all the advertising that's spent in California, that's $18 billion a year in new revenue. 20%, and we're at $36 billion. That's $36 billion in new revenue. And by the way, they'll do it. So it's my industry. I know it. Those people are not going to stop advertising to Californians. They're not going to pull their advertising dollars. And we would not impose that tax on corporations that are based in California. It would be for companies that are based outside of California who want California dollars. We tax that. Simple measures like that, right? That's a $36 billion revenue stream for California that does not exist today. That's before we talk about travel tax. That's before we talk about legalized gambling and being more friendly to our hospitality industry to get more people in. I have innovative ideas on how we can solve this, and it's because of my entrepreneurial background, and that's why I can see things differently than politicians do.
Yeah, let's jump into that entrepreneurial background, because maybe as a great interviewer, I would have started out with that so people can kind of get context on, who you are, how you came about. But I do think it's important to get some of these issues to talk about them so people can kind of know right away where you stand so they can decide to leave or stay. But let's talk about a little bit about your entrepreneurial background. I mean, I want you to tell people where you started. Of course, I know your story, but where did you start? What was your first experiences as a risk-taking entrepreneur, and where are you at today? And why do you think that is beneficial for you running for public office?
Sure. 24 years ago, my wife and I were in a tiny little apartment. We had a cardboard box as a coffee table. We had her childhood sofa as the only piece of furniture we had in the living room. We had a plastic patio set that you would have outside, plastic, inside as our dining table. We had a refrigerator that was given to us. Somebody donated it to us. The refrigerator light didn't even work. So at night when you'd open the refrigerator, you couldn't even see the food you were getting. Our first meal in that apartment was hamburger helper without the meat because we could not afford the meat. And so we had the most humble beginnings. Now, I'm appreciative of that because I believe that, that journey was critically important. And that development over the years was critically important to building my character. So I'm very thankful for those humble beginnings. But I knew that entrepreneurial spirit that my grandfather had, I knew that was instilled in me. And while we worked and while I worked, and my wife, even up till she was 9 months pregnant, she was still walking 2 blocks because we only had one car. She'd walk 2 blocks to a Subway restaurant to actually make sandwiches, to actually, generate some income so that we could put food on the table. And I knew that my family deserved better than that. So I would spend, I would do odd jobs during the day, spend the evening contemplating businesses that I would want to start. Finally, one day I had a job. I decided to start this company. I started in a 200 square foot office in Downey, California. It was really, there was only 2 pieces of furniture that fit in there, 2 IKEA desks, one I still have today. And I had the IKEA desk, I had a borrowed computer, a phone, and the yellow pages. That's all I had. Every night I would come into that office and I would spend 2, 3, 4, 5 hours just making calls. Nobody was there at the time. It was after hours, so I was having to leave voicemails. But I would just give this elevator pitch. My name is Anthony. I'm calling. I have some ideas. My name's Anthony. I have some ideas. And I just, I would make calls until I was exhausted every night. Then I'd go, I'd work my full-time job, come home, eat dinner with the family, and do it again. I finally built that company up over 20 years. I started that company 20 years ago. Over the course of 20 years, I built that company up to what it is today. Inc. magazine named us one of the fastest growing privately held companies in America. I take extreme pride in that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I built this company, a successful company that has a global footprint. We work with Fortune 500 companies and we work with innovative startups. I take pride in that because I built this company up over 20 years without sacrificing the 2 most important jobs that I have, being a husband and being a father. I also take pride in that acknowledgement because 20 years in, to get acknowledged as one of the fastest growing companies in America means we haven't stopped innovating. We haven't stopped growing. We haven't stopped pushing the envelope. That entrepreneurial spirit that I started the company with still exists in me today. And one of the things I'm most proud about is that last year, during a pandemic, when my entire industry, 80 to 90% of the ad industry had 2 to 3 different layoffs, and a lot of them closed their doors and went fully remote. In the middle of a pandemic, we moved into our new corporate office that I'm sitting in today, 17,000 square feet. We doubled our staff. We continued to innovate, continued to lean in and push. And last year, 2020, was our biggest revenue year ever. It's such a blessing and it's such an incredible story. But again, going back to why I was running, even though we were having a stellar year, the best year we've ever had, something I'm incredibly proud about, I would drive into work every day and see business after business shut down, franchise after franchise shut down. I'd see third generation restaurants owned by the same family shut down. They'll never open their doors again. I couldn't just sit idly by with the success that we were experiencing and not do something. So that's a little bit of the story of, what I do and how I got here. But my heart and my passion is for small business. It's for families. It's for protecting our rights. And so it was a long-winded answer to your question.
Well, no, I think it's important. People need to understand these things. When you look at the person you want to vote for, it's going to be essentially the CEO of California. I mean, you want somebody to have a story, somebody to have been able to build success. It's not always a popularity context. Who's the cutest? Who's the coolest? That stuff is irrelevant. You need somebody
That's
that
what
can
I
go and
don't
get the
get,
job
Brandon.
done.
That just blows my mind. The idea that we would contemplate electing somebody who's a career politician or somebody that with no business background or a celebrity, it actually blows my mind. That's how we got into this problem in the first place. Electing politicians who don't know how to run businesses, don't know how to innovate, don't know how to invent, create. In my job as a CEO, working with so many companies across so many different industries, I get exposed to innovation constantly. Some of the solutions we have for California with regards to water and energy, I'm privy to those because I'm an entrepreneur, because I work with top CEOs and executives and inventors and engineers on the front lines of cutting technology that are changing the world. I get to, when I'm excited, I think about the day that I'm in Sacramento and I could pick up the phone and have a coalition of the brightest and best minds at the table working on all of the complex problems that California has. We need innovation. Entrepreneurs innovate. An entrepreneur takes something and they break it and then they reassemble it because they want to know how it works. They want to innovate. They want to make it better. Politicians don't do that. Celebrities can't do that. And if you don't have a business background, you wouldn't know where to start.
Right. And I think that's one reason I like Donald Trump is that he had no political background, but he had a business background, empire. He worked with people all over the world. And I think that's incredibly important when you're in a position like that. So I got a couple questions. I'll try to make them real quick because I want to ask you a few of them. One is, what is your take or what is your thoughts about abortion? People keep asking that.
I'm pro-life, period. End the story. I believe we need to protect all human life, even the unborn.
Yeah, I figured, as a Christian, every Christian a man that says I'm a Christian, they should be pro-life. We shouldn't even ask that question. It should be like, are you a Christian?
I was literally going to say that. I'm so surprised that I get asked that question. I mean, I've made my faith known, my position known. I can't imagine that somebody that's come out speaking on the topics that I've spoken about could be pro-choice. I don't get it. I'm 100% on pro-life. Without a doubt.
And so people want to know, because, DeSantis is a rock star. DeSantis is really making waves in Florida. A lot of people, want to know, are you going to be that type of a governor of California? Are you going to make waves? Meaning that, what are you going to do about CRT? What are you going to do if the Delta variant and all these other stuff that they're pushing from the federal government? Like, what is going to be your reaction? I want to know first from the CRT perspective. And then the second one is shutting down a state in the midst of what they would consider the new strain of a pandemic.
So first of all, I think DeSantis is innovating, and I commend him for what he's doing. He's swimming upstream. But I will tell you this, we're going to make DeSantis jealous. DeSantis is going to want to make Florida California because I believe he's doing some incredible things. And honestly, he'll be one of the first people I put on a plane when I take office to have conversations, look at his playbook, kind of understand what he's done. But California's different. California's unique. We're not going to make California Florida. We're going to make California California. So we'll, just like an entrepreneur, we'll sit at the table and we'll, I like ideas. I like people to share ideas. I like to look at things from different perspectives. So I think he's doing an amazing job. But for California, we need to do even better than that. And so we are. And DeSantis will want to make Florida California. With regards to critical race theory, I mean, we live in a society right now that wants to focus on every single thing that divides us. Every possible trigger to divide us, that's what our society is peddling. And so we need to remove critical race theory from every school across America. And if we have to start in California, we'll do that. And with regards to shutting down the state for variants, look, the virus did not cause a pandemic. Our overreaction to it did. And so what we need to do is we need to be smart. We need to be mindful. We need to take precautions, but ultimately shutting down the state, churches in my state will never be shut down again. Businesses will never be shut down again, because the idea that government can pick and choose which companies are essential is absurd. Every company is essential to the community it serves and the people it employs. So there will be no shutting down of our businesses, our churches. And, I will stand against any idea of, implementing vaccine passports or mandatory vaccinations. But I will surround myself around the brightest and best physicians, doctors, surgeons, scientists, and we will look at every problem, including variants that come up, and we will tackle it, we will address it. But most importantly, we will communicate and educate our population so that they can make the best decisions for their family.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. It's funny. While we're talking, I'm thinking like, man, I just wish we were sitting down, having a cigar and having the same conversation, because having this conversation over Skype it doesn't do it justice. It's kind of like, I have to, talk to the screen or whatever, but we have incredible conversations. When we were together last time, man, we had incredible conversations, and I really appreciate, some of the things that you're saying here. A lot of people want to know about the infrastructure. California has this crazy issue with the energy company and the accountability of the energy company. I remember when Corinne and I lived there, I mean, they had fires burning down whole entire communities in California because of infrastructure and these outdated power boxes and stuff that the state just turned a blind eye to, and they were not held accountable. So there's some infrastructure issues. There's the issues with the electric company, the electric power source in California. So what are you going to do as governor? How are you going to address those things?
Deregulation and competition is going to solve a lot of that. So I come from an era where Pacific Bell was the utility, was the only telephone company that you could get service from. And then the government came in and deregulated all the Bell systems and created competition, which allowed for better service and lower pricing. That needs to happen. We can't have monopolies, especially on utilities. But as far as our infrastructure and addressing the infrastructure itself, that's where the innovation comes in. I'm already talking right now with scholars, with engineers and inventors that are working on the latest technology, harnessing solar power, turning it into hydrogen, and then turning that hydrogen, those generators, the byproduct of that being atomic water. I'm at the table with innovators who are looking at energy, who are looking at all of our infrastructure problems, and they're looking at it through different lenses. And they're implementing these technologies outside of the United States. So one of the biggest energy plants right now is being installed in Mexico because of regulations here in California and across the nation not wanting that new technology because of special interest. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up, and we're going to allow innovators to come in, look at our infrastructure, innovate, approach it differently, create solutions, multiple solutions, a multi-pronged solution. As an entrepreneur, you never put all your eggs in one basket, and so you diversify. So we're going to have a diverse set of solutions for our water, for our power, for our road, everything. And again, that goes back to understanding how to run a business properly and how to get the right people at the table.
Yeah, awesome. Let me ask a couple more questions. I see some people, most people in the comment section, I can see that they love what you say. There's some people in the comment section that are critical. I would encourage anybody that's, listening to this, do your research. This is just a preliminary conversation that we're having. People need to do their research, based on my research. I mean, I think you're an incredible guy. If I lived in California, I'd vote for you. I wish you could be the governor of Arizona. However, I think people need to, do your research. Healthy skepticism is totally fine. You just need to do your research, and it's very difficult because people, no politician is going to come out, or a person that's running for office, no matter if you're a politician or not, is going to come out and say, yeah, I'm a trash can person and I'm not going to do nothing that I said I was going to do. Nobody's going to say that. So people are going to have an answer that, is somewhat can be perceived as politically correct. But
here's the thing. I'm
I'm
not a politician, so it's very difficult for me to be politically correct. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm completely authentic, transparent, and my wife actually says, the best and worst thing about you is how transparent you are. She's like, sometimes how transparent you are. You just say everything on your mind. And she's like, at the same time, I hate that about you. That you say exactly what's on your mind. The truth of the matter is, politicians have an answer for everything, but an entrepreneur has a solution for everything, and that's what's different.
Oh, I like that. I believe it. I guess it's a biased interview for me because, man, I'm as soon as we met, man, I was blown away at how authentic you are. And the thing is that there's not a lot of authentic people out there. There's not a lot of genuine people running for office. I mean, I encounter people all the time that are they're narcissistic. They want to run for office because they want power. They want, look at me. These people don't have integrity. I met your family, your wife. Like, you've raised quality children that are adults. Most of your children are adults. Mm-hmm. And so that to me speaks to a resume of success and somebody you can get behind, more so than somebody having a political document to say, look, I was in politics for 1,000 years and I said yes to this and yes to this. Being a married man and me being a married man, and you've been married much longer than me, but being married is almost a resume. You know what I'm saying? Like, people
don't give that enough credit. I met my wife when she was 17. I was 19. We've been together 26 years, married for 24 years. To a lot of people, that may not seem like something significant. You being a married man, you know exactly how significant that is. That means that you're committed, you stick to it, that good times and bad, you stay the course. It speaks to someone's character. It just does. I mean, being able to be married for as long as I have, raising the children that I've raised, I mean, you're right. That's part of my resume. The business that I have, it's public, it's transparent, it's in the open, there's nothing to hide. It is what it is. You can come and sit here. Those are legitimate things that I've accomplished. And so I can't see the comments, so I don't know what the skepticism is, but I encourage, people to challenge my position on things, my background, because I think the mosaic of my life is exactly what California needs. I represent the diversity that exists in California. I'm 50% Mexican, I'm 50% Cuban, 100% American. I started with nothing and built something substantial. That's the American dream. I'm married to high school sweetheart, have 5 amazing kids, 4 of my own, 1 adopted. We were foster care parents for a season of our life. It's important that people understand this. There is no selfish pursuit in my running for governor. Nothing at all. It would benefit me greatly, and I mean greatly, if I were to pack up my business and move to Florida. I would improve the quality of my life. I would improve my income. I would improve. There's so much that makes sense if I was looking for selfish interest. I would pack up. I would leave California, and I live on paper. I would live a better life. I'm doing this because somebody needs it, because it's what's right. I believe that a lot of people get into politics because you're right. They like the power. They like the attention. They look at it as a career. This is not going to be a career for me. I want to go. I want to fix things. I want to leave things better than I found them. And then I want to give them to the next generation, somebody else to carry the torch that's relevant for that time. I tell people I might not have been the right candidate for 20 years ago, and I might not be the right candidate for 20 years from now, but I do believe with my heart I'm the right candidate for today. And not because I want to be, but because I feel like I'm called to be. And I feel like somebody needs to step up and advocate for the things that matter: faith, family, freedom. I think we need to put people over politics and principles over policies.
100%. Somebody asked a question, and just shout out to Jericho Green. It's one of my friends, man. He's an incredible YouTuber, and he lives out there in California. He said California is on life support, which I agree, and I think we have solutions to that. People need to be informed. This is why we're doing this interview, is one of those things. Where's Anthony as far as polling? What's the best way that people who are not Californians to support him? So just real quick as an interjection into the interview, how can people support you if they're not in California? Because a lot of people that follow me are not in California. I do have a lot of people that live in California that support me, but this is all over the country. Some people are not even in this country. But how do people in this country support you? Where can they go to find out a little bit more about who you are?
You can support us a few ways. Number one, prayers don't cost anything, so we'll take your prayers. Two, you can spread the word. If you have friends and family, colleagues that are in California, share this message, share this video, share the word, encourage people to look us up, follow us. And the third way is to donate. I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so much the state of California will allow me to do on my own and my company. We need this to be a people-funded effort. We need people to get behind this. We need people to donate. I encourage you, there's no amount too small, $5, whatever you can donate. 100% of that money is going to go towards spreading the word and communicating this message of hope, period. I have no special interest in taking a single dime from the campaign. I had money going into this. My company will exist long after this is over. But the campaign is different. The campaign does need your support. It needs your backing. And you can visit anthonytrimino.com. That's anthonytrimino.com. And you can plug in, be a volunteer, spread the word, and donate.
Yeah, and I'll encourage you guys this: don't donate to the RNC and all that stuff. If you find a candidate that you get behind and you directly go to their website and support them individually. I wouldn't donate to the RNC, the Republican, all that other stuff. Donate to the candidate individually. One thing that I was thinking about, and I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but the Second Amendment, in the state of Arizona, like we're a completely open carry state. Like you can open carry and concealed carry, no permit. They call it that we're a constitutional carry state. When you become governor of California, are you interested in allowing Californians to have that right that we have in Arizona? I think they did it in Texas, Tennessee, all around the country. People now have the right that they always had. Now they're being afforded the right to open carry and concealed carry without a permit. What's your stance on that?
I mean, I think that is a great lofty goal for California, but you got to crawl before you walk, right? And California would not be ready for that on my first day. But I think that the initial approach is to protect our Second Amendment, loosen some of these restrictions, and make it easier for people to actually obtain, a legal gun, and ultimately work toward the ability for us to actually be an open state at some point in time. But I do believe it's going to be a two-step process. First, we need to protect it and then loosen some of the restrictions. And then we need to work toward getting people comfortable with the idea of being an open carry state. Okay.
So I'm going to ask you some just one answer questions. Yes or no. Do you support police?
Absolutely.
I know it's fun. It's funny that I ask you things because I already know the answer.
Silly question.
You wouldn't even. I wouldn't even talk to you if these weren't the answers. But some people they never heard of you. They have never heard my perspective of you. So I'll ask you some of these questions as well. And this is not a no-brainer. I think this is more nuanced. This next question I'm gonna ask you is that, what do you think about marijuana? I'm gonna give my personal take on it, and then I'll let you, give your take on it. But my take on marijuana is that I personally don't smoke marijuana. I think that they've criminalized marijuana way too long, in my opinion. I don't like it. I don't want my child to smoke marijuana. However, I'm more focused on leaving it up to the states to make that decision. If people in the states want to smoke marijuana, then let them be at it. Have it regulated like you would do alcohol. But what's your stance on marijuana, legalization of marijuana? Yeah. What's your stance on it?
I agree with you. I don't smoke it. I actually don't even like being around it. I just don't like the smell. I'm a cigar smoker. I love the smell of a good cigar. I hate the smell of marijuana. I hate the smell of cigarettes, but I believe that should be a decision that people make. We need to regulate it, tax it, but I wouldn't support anything to strip away that right that people currently have.
Okay, perfect. So, when it comes down to, partnership, how do you think that you will play with the current administration? And when I say play, meaning that how will you partner with the current administration? Do you think that you're going to be it's going to be a complete adversarial relationship, or do you think that there's something that the Biden administration can offer California, or there's some things that you guys can work together on to make California a better place?
Yeah, so I'm going with the mindset of cooperation. That's what I do as an entrepreneur. But I also understand that sometimes the best things are only achieved through conflict. So I'm not afraid to fight. I'm not afraid to arm wrestle. I'm not afraid to get bloody in the process. I would hope that I can go and find common ground to negotiate and to work collaboratively together for the better good of California and the nation as a whole. But should I be met with opposition when it comes to what's in the best interest of Californians, then we will fight. We will fight vigorously, relentlessly, and we won't stop.
Do you think that that your faith is an obstacle for you in this gubernatorial race? Do you think your faith is an obstacle, or do you think that your faith has value when it comes to running for the governor of California? California is there's a lot of conservatives there, but there's a lot of liberal mindsets and American hating, people that live there. What's your thoughts on that? And then we're going to jump to the border. But what's your thoughts on that first question?
Yeah, my faith is my most valuable asset. It's what I turn to in times of crisis. It's what I turn to in times of confusion and doubt. So my faith is incredibly important. I built my entire life, my entire business, my marriage, my family off of my faith. I tell people often, I'm no fool. This is California. We have atheists, agnostic, Muslim, Buddhist. We're a mixed bag in California, and that's totally fine. And I tell people, you don't have to be Christian to support our campaign, but you're going to want me to be. And that's because you're going to want to know that in office during times of crisis, that I'm going to pull from resources that are bigger than myself, that I answer to someone than myself, and that I can actually seek solutions that are not self-seeking because of my faith.
Awesome. Illegals. That's another question that I have. The illegal aliens that's flood through our borders. What's your thoughts on illegal immigration, the issue with sex trafficking, and all the things that come with the illegal immigration? Our border. What's your stance on the southern border? What steps are you going to take as governor of California?
So my grandfather came to the United States from Cuba. He came legally and became a U.S. citizen. So and also as a business owner, we get people who are here on visas, school visas, student visas, then they transfer that over to a work visa. We're seeing our laws and our immigration laws work favorably for those that follow them. But I often tell people, look, even heaven has gates. And that means that we need to have a very strong border, that even though we're a country that is very accepting, that's open to all, without strict borders, without immigration laws, we have chaos, and we cannot have a sustainable, safe society with chaos. So I'm all for strict border laws. I'm all for, coming against and standing against and fighting against illegal immigration. I think there's a proper way to do it. And the fascinating thing too about this journey for me is if you have a very strict stance on immigration, but you put that same message into some of the other candidates that are running, it's going to fall on deaf ears because they cannot relate to the public that they're talking to. And so I get to be an advocate for safe and secure borders, but I also am going to have validation because I come from immigrants. And so I think that I can finally have the necessary dialogue with people that have immigrated here legally and illegally, and they can understand where I stand. And I think we can have a healthy dialogue that hasn't been something we've been able to pursue prior. So I'm really looking forward to speaking on immigration, talking about it, explaining to the people that have come here legally why we need to stand against it, the burden that it puts on taxpayers, and why it's not good for our society.
Yeah, sounds incredibly good to me. For the people in the comment section, if you're asking questions, we've already answered those questions. You can go back after the live stream is done. We'll categorize every topic that we touched on, so you can see it. Because some people are jumping in late and you're asking questions that we already answered, and you can go back and rewatch it, and it'll have the questions for you. So now, I think that, to be honest, I think I've asked you enough questions. People should be able to at least see your heart in this from the few things that I've been able to ask you. I mean, it goes without saying. There's some things that, like, when you're a Christian, I mean, first of all, I got you on the show. I support you 100%. So that in of itself should tell people that, we're really closely aligned on a lot of these issues. If you're a Christian, all of you Christians out there, it's reasonable to believe that a Christian would believe the same Christian values that you would want for the state of California. Because some people are asking these abstract questions like, well, what would you do about this? How you feel about this little thing? And it's like, it's encompassed in the faith. It's encompassed in having a strong border. It's encompassed in saying CRT is bad. All of these things we've already addressed. So I want to go to something a little more lighthearted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to ask you some fun questions, because at the end of the day, we're humans. We're people.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, man. You're not robots walking around. I'm a politician. I got to do this. No, we're regular people. So I'll say this, man. I'm a cigar smoker. I think you're more prolific than I am. but I have to say, man, that my favorite cigar, and I want to know what your favorite cigar is, but this Atabey cigar that I got, it has to be my number one favorite cigar. I'm going to smoke it after this. So what's your favorite cigar?
Is that something new that you just recently tried? Because I haven't heard you speak about that one before.
Yeah, I just tried it. I tried it like maybe like a month ago once.
Okay.
And then I just went back to the shop and I bought a few of them. So it's my favorite one.
So my favorite cigar in the world is a Cuban cigar. It's called the Partagas No. 2 Torpedo. That's my favorite cigar. Very difficult to get, obviously. So next to that would be Avo. So I smoke on a daily basis Avo, which is a Davidoff brand, but it's a sub brand from Davidoff, and it's just smooth. It's like having a nice cappuccino after a meal.
Yeah, I have the Avo. I think you had when we met up, you had one that I smoked, and I said, man, that one is nice. But for whatever it is, this Atabey is like on fire for me.
So just like with wine, you develop a palate for cigars, and you'll find that you'll have seasons where your palate will change. So there's some cigars 2 years ago that were my favorite that I can't smoke anymore because I just don't like the taste. And so you'll find how your palate works, and you'll find the cigar that you like for a season, and then you'll watch, just like wine, eventually you'll fall out of love with it and you'll try something new. And so that's where your palate's at today. We'll see where it is in a few months.
Yeah, awesome. What's your favorite Bible verse? Mine is Acts 2:38. That's what I got saved on. What's your favorite verse?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot, and honestly, my answer is the same. I don't have a favorite Bible verse, because for me, the word is living, right? It's alive. And so there are different times in my life where, there was a period of time in 2008 where I was just about Psalms. Like, it was just everything for me was Psalms. I was in a year of just prayer and wanting to find ways in which to pray. And so I just felt that Psalms was fitting for that time in my life. And on this particular journey that we've been on, so many scriptures have been given to us. The one right now that I'm just holding on to is He'll make ways in the forest and rivers, and He'll provide rivers in the desert, because I feel like it speaks to this journey that I'm on when I'm asking God, like, hey, I know why you want me to do this, but how is this all going to happen? And I feel like He reveals it to me in a verse like that. I'll make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. And that was His way of telling me, like, you don't need to see the path. I'll make the way for you, and then I'll provide rivers in the desert. I'll replenish you. I'll give you what you need to sustain you on this journey. And so, and then I have a lot of people praying for us on this journey, and they're constantly giving me prayers and verses that are meaningful for that day or for that time. But I mean, the word is alive. And so, I never just land on one.
Awesome. Somebody asked, do you speak Spanish?
Yes, I understand 99% of Spanish, and I can speak conversational Spanish. I can speak 80%. I've been asked to talk on the campaign in Spanish about technical issues and about policies, and I probably flub a little bit through it, but English was my first language. I had to learn Spanish to speak to my grandmother, who was Cuban. She refused to learn English. On her deathbed, she spent her entire life not uttering a single English word. She was just defiant that way. It's that Cuban, thing about them. I don't know what it is, but I had to learn to speak to her. So I'm very good having conversational Spanish.
All right, awesome. Let me see. What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport, I would say right now golf, because it's something that I enjoy doing. As my kids were growing up, we went through seasons where it was baseball, then basketball. I never got into football so much, but I think right now golf.
Somebody said, Trimino, do you have a Cuban accent?
So funny enough, and I tell this story, I've been to Cuba about 7 or 8 times in the last 3 or 4 years. And the first day I get there, I'm stumbling through my Spanish to kind of get comfortable. By the second day, I've got it going. By the third day, I'm with an accent, and I'm full on slurring. I'm like slang, and it takes me a couple of days when I get back to stop talking like that. So.
Yeah, that's funny. What's your favorite movie? Do you watch movies?
I do watch movies. I have a few. One that's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is one of my favorite movies, because of the story of salvation that's threaded through that entire movie. It's one of the classics. The Gentleman right now, I've probably watched The Gentleman, ask my family, 300 plus times in the last year. I love it. I love the storyline. So I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan as well, so I like a lot of his movies. I like his approach to storytelling.
That's awesome, man. If you could fly go anywhere in the world, who knows, you may have been in a lot of places in the world, but if you can go anywhere in the world outside of the United States of America, where would it be?
Right now I would go either to Greece or back to Italy. We spent some time in Italy a couple of years ago, and we didn't get to spend enough time there. So I would love to go back to Italy. My wife is Italian. She's Italian and German and a few other things peppered in there. But I just, being Hispanic and especially being Cuban, Italians have a lot of that energy and that hospitality. And I love to eat. I'm a foodie. So I think I would go back to Italy and spend some time there.
That's awesome. Somebody asked, do you have a cute nickname for your wife?
I call her JT. So first of all, her name's Jennifer. I call her Jenny most of the time, but JT is that endearing thing. Her father used to call her JT, so I picked that up, and she likes it. And I think JT is the one I most commonly use.
What's your favorite music genre?
Favorite, right now, it would be electric music. So like the Kygo type vibe. Obviously, I listen to Christian music 50% of the time. The other 50% of the time, you'll find me listening to like Kygo electric, like DJ music like that. But very chill vibe, not hard, like festival, but like Kygo, yeah, that kind of vibe.
Let's see. Okay, Camille asked a question on here. Which child of yours is your favorite?
Well,
she wants to get you in trouble, man.
Yeah, she wants to get me in trouble. I'm gonna have to say my daughter, only because if she's listening, my daughter will give me more grief than my 3 boys will combine. So I only have one of those. So I'll say my daughter, but my kids know that I have a very, very special relationship with each and every one of them. God has blessed us with such unique characteristics. They're all different, come from the same household, same environment, but they're all so uniquely different, and they're precious and they're just amazing. So, but I'll say my daughter because She'll kill me if I don't.
So I'm gonna finish it. We a little lighthearted, but I want to finish with a few other things that. Lastly, I want you to just give any remarks that you want to make on the last end of it. But what advice would you give? Like, if you had Americans, the ears of the American man, and you were at a conference or something, and all the men of America would sit in the conference room. What would you say to the men of America? What would be a statement that you would give them from the heart if you had a chance to talk to and influence every single man in America on one go? What would that be?
Well, that's a lofty request. I think first and foremost, we need to pursue being the man that God has called us to be. So we need to be the head of the household. We need to be an example to our wife and to our children. We need to be a provider, a protector, spiritual head of the household. I think that men have kind of lost their way a little bit. I think that we don't fully understand our place in society and the significance of good, honest, godly men. We need them in our homes. We need them in our businesses. And we need them in government. And I think that if you look at all of the problems that plague the United States, and especially California, if you look at homelessness, you look at our jails, you look at crime, you look at drug abuse, you look at our foster care system, you can usually, not every time, but you can usually trace it back to a missing father figure in the home. And if we as men were to stand up and be the men that God called us to be, we would be able to fix at a core level so many of the problems that plague the United States. The family unit is the most important, precious thing. And men need to understand the significance and their role in that. And so if we were to assume, and it's not hard, if we were just read the Bible, understand who God called you to be and be that person, I think we would see a huge decline in crime and homelessness and drug abuse in the foster care system. And so we are the solution to a lot of the problems.
Awesome, man. I love that. I'm big on inspiring men, because I feel like the rise and fall of success and failure of our country is dependent upon the men. It's on the shoulders of the men. It doesn't matter what anybody else do. The men are responsible for the success of this country. And I'm not saying just responsible, meaning they're the only ones working for success, but when the rubber hits the road, who they're going to look at? They're going to look at the men of this country as the fall of this country or the success. The same way at the household. Nobody's going to come up to your wife and knock on the door and say, well, why is the family, why are the family in a predicament that they're in? They need to talk to the father of the family and say, he has to have an account of why his family is in a particular situation, whether it's incredible success or not. So I think that's invaluable for us to really just implement this godly mentality into young men and men who are of all ages, so they can grow up and be in their position. When they get in position and they align themselves with God being the head of Christ, Christ being the head of the church, the man being the head of the house. I mean, that's prime time success. So I'll leave it. We got about 2 more minutes. Is there anything that you would like to add? Any final words that you would like to say to the people, things that you may not have been able to address before in the interview? If you got something you want to add, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot, but I really want to speak specifically to those people who are either on the fence or perhaps considering another candidate because of their political background. As an example, we don't need another politician in California. Our liberties and our freedoms are under attack. Our children are under attack. Our businesses were under attack. Our healthcare freedoms are under attack. We need somebody who is going to innovate, who's going to fight. I'm a business owner, so I'm going to fight for small business. I'm a father, I'm going to fight to protect our children. I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. I'm going to fight to make sure that our churches never close again. I know how important it is that healthcare decisions get made at your dinner table and not in Sacramento. So, politicians have gotten us into the mess we're in now. We don't need more politicians. My resume is not in politics, but California doesn't need politics. California needs someone that's going to innovate, that understands how to run the state like a business, someone who's compassionate, who has a family, who is rooted in good moral values. I mean, if I wanted to play to the masses, I would only be talking about water, energy, fires, taxes, homelessness, because those are the political talking points. What have you all heard me say? Go to the website and read. Go to my Instagram account and read all of my posts that I post myself. What am I talking about? I'm talking about faith. I'm talking about family. I'm talking about preserving our communities and all that is good in California. I'm talking about rekindling the American dream my grandfather fled Cuba to pursue. All of that is under attack, and we need a new approach. And I've been raw, I've been consistent, I've been transparent. So I just urge you to reconsider traditional logic and pray about it and think about it and research and really invest some time in understanding what we're bringing to the table. And I would be honored to have continued dialogue. And if you have questions, please submit them to me. I try to respond to as many DMs as possible. But at the end of the day, our freedoms and our liberties are at stake. And we need someone that's going to advocate for our families, for our businesses, and for our freedoms. And that's exactly what I'll do.
Awesome. And then how can they donate to you? Because I know, I mean, I don't know what your financial budget looks like and what you need, but I guarantee you that anybody running for office can use support, and people may want to support you. They don't live in California, so they can't vote, but however, they can still support you in other ways. So where can people go to support you?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. You have a lot of these people with big names. They get a lot of financial support right out of the gate. But we're believing on, building momentum, and we believe that this will be people funded, and we do need your support, however big or small. And you can go to anthonytrimino.com and you can click the donate button and you can donate. You can reach out to us. If you have fundraising ideas, if you want to host an event, you can reach us at info@anthonytrimino.com. But I encourage you to get active. Nothing's going to change if we just sit idle. You got to take all of that anger, that frustration, that righteous anger that you have, and you need to funnel it and get behind somebody. And we hope that I'm the candidate that you can get behind.
100%, man. So I thank you, Anthony, for coming on. Like I said, man, you're my brother. I think you're an incredible man outside of politics, outside of running for governor. I think you're an incredible, inspiring person, and I think that's important. I want to feel inspired by somebody. I don't want them to just be some robot in office that you just hit the lever for and hope that they're successful at some point. It's like you want genuine human beings that care, that love, that have a resume of success as a person. We got a lot of people that fail as a person, but they're good at politics, but they're a failed person. They're in girls' inbox, DMs and stuff, or you got people who are running for the wrong reasons, or people that can raise a lot of money, but they don't have a genuine perspective. They have never seen real money before. These people are not managing money properly in other campaigns that they've ran. So I want people to take that into consideration. But I want you to hang around, Anthony. I'm gonna finish it off. I want you to hang around. I want to have a conversation with you after the live stream. But God bless you. Y'all go and support Anthony Trimino for governor of California. I think that he is the solution for California, hands down. I'm open to talk to other people. They want to come on here, I'll bring them on live. I'll give them a chance to give that little spiel. But I definitely think that Anthony Trimino is the number one choice. So I appreciate you, Anthony, man. Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you too, brother.
All right. So my camera wide. One day I'm gonna get this together. I've been doing this for I don't know how long, and I still feel like a rookie. My camera don't look that good, and then I gotta zoom in and zoom out, and it's all weird. So eventually I'll get it together. It'll be ready to go. And I appreciate all the people that have supported me. So thank you guys. I really hope that you do your research. I'm not God. I can't make you do something, and I'm not telling you to do everything that Brandon Tatum does. However, this should give you a perspective of another person who you may have never heard of, and a person that I believe in, a person that I think will be a good person to be the governor, a leader, the CEO, the manager of the state of California. So do your research. Go on his website. Go and research him. Look at what he's accomplished over the years. You know, go and look at his Instagram page. Go look at his family. I mean, follow his family members. Stalk their pages. Look at their pages and see how they act and see how they, you know, operate, because it tells a lot about the character of a man, is the kind of family he leads and the people that are his family's children. You got a person that kids are cutting up and acting a fool and then in and out of jail. I mean, I honestly believe that has a lot to do with you as a parent. It's not just they're a bad apple. It's just you've raised them to be a certain way. You need to take accountability for that. But anyway, AnthonyTrimino.com. Go on, visit the website, support him if you believe in him. Do your research so you know who you support. Come the gubernatorial race in 2022 or the gubernatorial recall of Gavin Newsom. Regardless of what you do, vote yes first. Don't forget to vote yes to recall Gavin Newsom if you live in California. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.